G'day there. This is the Hail Caesar Epic Scale Punic Wars range, which have been trending for a bit. They've been out for about a year. I thought it's high time I got a look at them and gave a little impression and a review for my channel. They are vastly tinier than my usual 28mm scale. Just to get an idea how much smaller they are, there's an individual 28mm scale versus this scale, Epic Scale, which I think it's 12mm. I've done some small Zvezda guys a while back, but they were a bit bigger than this. So I got one of the Punic Wars of Carthaginian army sprues to have a look at, and they come in all sorts of different sized boxes and quite a lot of extra bits you can get. You can get separate elephants and separate camps and so on. So you could get right into this scale. I think they'll probably be too small for me, but I did want to paint on some. In fact, I'll do this whole sprue and give you a look at them later. My first impressions, other than their tininess, is that they're quite nicely made. They're quite reasonably crisp. They're hard plastic, not that silly walled resin they put out some stuff with a while back. And the cool thing is, a single sprue, you get quite a decent smattering of all the main components of the Carthaginian army. So you've got 3 lines here of the Libyan spearmen. You've got some Iberian heavy infantry there, Scutarii. You've got some Carthaginian commanders and Numidian cavalry, and then some light skirmishers, whether they're Libyan or Numidian. You could make them however you wanted. So other than the Gauls, you've got most of the dudes in the main sort of Second Punic War Carthaginian army anyway, on one sprue. But they do make sets for the Romans and sets for Gauls separately, sets for allied legions. So they were, the Italic people who sometimes fought with Rome and sometimes with Carthage. So you could get all them if you're really into it. And obviously, if you wanted to play some of the epic battles like Trasimene or River Trebia, Cannae, Zama, all that stuff, this would be a great scale to use, because you could build some serious size armies and at a reasonably cheap price, and they wouldn't take up your entire study or bedroom to store them. So they've got a few advantages. So anyway, I'm going to crack them out, base them up, and give you my impression, and then I'll paint them up and show you the finished result. Alright, let's do a progress report. So I have got them all off the sprue, cleaned them up a little bit, and as you can see, made a bit of a start with some of them. So firstly, the Iberian ones I'm working on, and the first thing to say is that they're quite crisp. They do have a little bit of seam lines, sometimes down the middle of the head, particularly the horses, down kind of the face. But it was actually pretty easy to clean off with a normal hobby knife. And I found they were less of an issue with that than I expected. Actually, I'd heard a few things, seen a few things online that those lines were a bit of a nuisance, but I didn't really find it. Some bits are a bit weird, like where the spear there is merged into the horse's head. So just with a scalpel, I just separated that a little bit to make it look a bit more realistic. But certainly if you're playing games and they're in the distance, you'll never notice those tiny sort of details. The other thing I'd just like to point out is, which I think is great, is that, so you've got those 3 ranks of Gar, or 3 rows of Iberians there. They're all separate, each row, so it would have been easy or tempting for Warlord Games just to do the lazy thing and make them all the same, but they have not. They've gone the extra step. They've made every row separate, and indeed every individual in every row is unique as well. So that's brilliant, and I think that carries through to the other ones in this line, although I know the Romans all look very much like a homogeneous mass. They didn't look quite as good as these ones to me, which is why I started with them. Anyhow, and all the cavalry are different too. There must be about 10 cavalry on this sprue or so, maybe more, and every one's different. So there's a couple of Punic cavalry guys, and these little tiny skirmishers individually. I'll put them all on the one base, I think, once I'm done with them. They've got a bit of texture on their shield too, so you can do the animal skins quite easily. So they'll be very easy to do with some contrast paints. So far I am enjoying these little tiny dudes, even though they're straining my eyes. They're going well. I'll show them when they're done. Here we go, the finished articles. So these are the Libyan Spearmen. Come up quite nicely. I'm pretty happy with the final look of them. Just in the way of scale, to get an idea, there's a 28mm Libyan spearmen, or not spearmen, swordsman, but just shows you how minute these little buggers are, and they were quite a challenge to paint. You can sort of only do the most basic paint job really, and contrast paints are quite handy for it. So we'll give you a look at them, and then let's get the other big line of infantry up, which is the Iberians. And these, at least, I did a little bit of freehanding on their shield design, so they were a bit more interesting to paint. You're probably getting from my tone I'm not actually raving about these guys, because to be honest I found them a bit of a pain in the arse to paint such tiny figures, and not a lot of capacity to do a lot of interesting kind of paintwork, or any sort of complex shading or highlighting. You can only do the most basic job. So they're kind of good if you want them for games to do these epic battles, which obviously from their name is what they are intended for. But if you're more interested in just the process of painting, making beautiful miniatures, I don't think they are what you need. Certainly not what I need. And on that note, I will be putting these up for sale. I'll chuck the link in the description below, because I'm not going to be collecting these guys anymore. There's a Numidian cavalry and a Libyan skirmishers, and I've done a few sort of command figures. So the Numidian cavalry guy, let's call him Hannibal Barca, Hasdrubal Barca, something like that. A couple of Carthaginian citizen cavalry with their little block of other cavalry. So it's pretty impressive what you get on one sprue. That's all from one sprue. As mentioned before, you get a little brigade of Libyan spearmen, brigade of Iberian swordsmen, you get some Carthaginian cavalry, you get Numidian cavalry, and you get some skirmishers, which could be some sort of North African skirmishers. So yeah, it's good, just not my cup of tea. Anyway, let me know what you think. All the best. Oh, by the way, the very next video is going to be the one where I finally do the prize draw with the historical miniatures. So there'll be lots of stuff in there, including some of the stuff from Resin Warfare, which will be the next video. Spoiler alert. And you just have to have commented in any of the last about 4 historical videos, and you have to be a subscriber to be eligible, and then I will mail them to you anywhere in the wide world. All right, see ya.